This video is to allow you to correct your homework for section 2.2.6. So when you're multiplying the mixed numbers, there's a couple different ways you could do it. One is you could work with a generic rectangle idea, and you could break the 1 1/3 into 1 in one section, and then 1/3, and you could break the 1 1/2 into 1 in one section and 1/2, and then be taking 1 times 1 to give you the answer here, 1 times 1/3 to give you the answer here, 1/2 times 1, 1/2 times 1/3, and then you'd be adding them all together. The challenge with that is that now you'll have to get common denominators and so forth to get your final answer. The other way that a lot of students will do it is to change these to fractions greater than 1 first. So what we would be doing is taking 1 1/3 and converting it to what's sometimes called an improper fraction. This book calls it a fraction greater than 1, which would be 4/3. Now, if you've forgotten how to do that, we have talked about it, but basically it's the denominator times the whole number plus the numerator over the original denominator. And then you're going to multiply by, this one converted to a fraction greater than 1 would be 3/2. 2 times 1 plus 1 is 3/2. And then you can either multiply and simplify or simplify then multiply. I would probably simplify first. So 3 can be simplified in the numerator and the denominator, and 4 and 2 can both be divided by 2 in the numerator and the denominator, and then you end up with 2/1, which is just an answer of 2. You do need to show this work. All right, so if you're going to go with the fraction greater than 1 method, which is what most students do, make sure you're showing work. If you're going to do the generic rectangle, show the work as well. So for this 3 1/3, that would be 10/3 times 2 1/2 would be 5/2. Remember, you cannot simplify the 10 and the 5 because they're both in the numerator. It has to be a numerator with a denominator. So if you multiply across, you would get 50/6. You could, however, also simplify the 10 and the 2, dividing them both by 2 to make it a little bit easier. Then you would get 25/3. Either way, your answer will be a fraction greater than 1, and you'll have to convert that to a mixed number. So that's going to be 8 1/3. Again, if you've forgotten how to do that, you're taking the numerator, divided by the denominator. How many times does 3 go into 25? Which would be 8 whole times. That's how we're getting the whole number. 8 times 3 is 24. Subtract, you get 1. This will always be the numerator of the fraction, and then the denominator of the fraction. So whole number is coming from here, numerator, denominator. Now, I'm not going to show all the steps for the others, but you should do them the same. And again, you do need to have the work shown. Here, they're giving you a fast mental math technique to find 5/6 times 24. So they're reminding you that you could break 5/6 into 5 times 1/6 times 24. 1/6 times 24 is easy to do in our head because it's just 1/6 of 24. And that ends up being just 4. And then if you take 5 times that, you get 20. So that's the answer to 5/6 times 24. Here they want you to use that same technique to calculate these products mentally. And they do want an equation. So what you probably want to do is make the 3/4 into 3 times 1/4 times 24. And again, that would be the work I'd want to see. So 1/4 times 24 would be 6 times 3 gives you the 18. Here you'd make it 3 times 1/8 times 32. 1/8 of 32 is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Here'd be 1/7 of 35, which is 5 and again times the 4. While going on a field trip, a busload of 54 students have to be split into 3 groups. 2/3 of them go to lunch first, 1/3 go to the exhibits. How many go to lunch first? So basically what we want to know is what is 2/3 of 54 students. And remember that of means to multiply. So we're going to make this 2/3 times 54, and we can put that 54 over denominator 1. Now, at this point, you could use this mental math technique, make it 2 times 1/3 of 24. You could also simplify the 3 and the 54, because 5 plus 4 is 9, so we know 54 divides by 3 evenly. Either way, your final answer ends up being 36. Here they want you to draw a coordinate grid, mark the axes to go from -10 to +10 for the x and the y, and then plot the points. Now, as you notice here, these are not whole numbers. So when you plot those points, you will have to do a bit of estimating. So -2 and 2/10, they're showing that this is going by a scale of, there's 1, there's 2, 3, 4, and so on. So -2 and 2/10 would be approximately here. 4 and 64 hundredths would be approximately here. And so that's why A is located there. So the small lines here in between are representing 1, but every mark here is 2. And then for B, 8 and 2/10 ends up being about here. 7 and 59 hundredths about here. And again, where they meet is where B is. Here's C, here's D, and again, look them over and make sure that they make sense to you.